Hey guys, it's Brian, and I'm pissed off. And why, you ask? Well, that's because recently I played the Order 1886, and it has one of the absolute worst ways to manage collectibles. It's just atrocious. And it's not the only game. There's a lot of games that have issues with collectibles, and I want to spell out 8 simple rules for developers to follow to help improve the collectible system. So many games just do it wrong, and I really want to right that ship, and hopefully with your help we can get the word out there. So this video is really out there for developers. If you see one that's just done fucked it up, go ahead and send them a copy of this video, send them a link, tweet it to them, because this has got to get fixed because it's just so wrong and it is really frustrating, more so than it really needs to be. Now, before I do that, I'm going to start off this trophy show here by asking the same question I ask every time, and that is, what is your most recent trophy accomplishment? Now, a lot of you guys are going to tell me the Order 1886 Platinum, and why not? Because it is really one of the easiest Platinum trophies you can get. A lot of you are also going to say Apotheon, because that was recently patched, at least in North America. I'm not sure if it was in Europe. And that Platinum trophy is also now available. And before I get into my list of 8 things developers can do to improve the collectible system, let's go ahead and take a look at the upcoming games for this week. And this is right off the PlayStation blog. I'm reading it here. And so we're going to start off with Helldivers. And that is going to be a hardcore cooperative twin stick shooter. We also have Ali 2, Welcome to Hollywood, as well as Shiflings, which I don't know anything about, White Knight, and then Zombie Army Trilogy, which is made by the guys who did Sniper Elite 3. It's basically Sniper Elite 3 with a bunch of zombies, so it should be fun. And also it's going to be episode 2 of Resident Evil Revelations 2. And if you did watch any of my videos for episode 1 this past week, I want to thank you. They didn't really perform maybe as well as I would have liked, and it's got me kind of concerned, wondering if maybe people aren't interested in the game, or if they're just waiting for the 4th and final episode, where the disc version will also release. It'll be interesting to see how the analytics play on my videos when that comes out. So let's go ahead and talk about collectibles and why I'm pissed off. Love them or hate them, collectibles are part of a game now. It's in every single one we play, and people are going to have a strong opinion one way or the other about them. I don't mind them, obviously, because I make a living making guides for them. But collectibles are really just a mess. It's every developer's doing it differently, and honestly, it's just frustrating for a lot of players. So I want to present to you guys 8 rules, not just you guys, but to developers. 8 rules that they can follow to help make collectibles a less painful necessity of our lives. But before we do, let's talk about one thing that's not on the list, but it obviously goes without saying. We hate glitched trophies. Absolutely hate them. If they're bugged, we hate them. Game developers test the game. They do play testing, Q&A, but the one thing they don't often test is the trophy system. And it's very frustrating. What they should do is just send me a copy of the game a few weeks early, let me go and earn all the trophies and make sure none of them are bugged. But game sales are affected by glitch trophies, believe it or not. In fact, there was a tweet sent out the other day by Colin Moriarty, which you guys know him probably from IGN, and he's now a host over at Kinda Funny. And you can send him or at Kinda Funny Vids a tweet. Let them know I want to appear on their show. I would love to be a guest with them. But he sent out this tweet the other day, and it says, "So, are Dying Light's trophies still glitched, or is it safe to go get them now?" Now, I see many tweets, thousands of tweets like that, and forum posts all over the place of players who are basically saying the same thing. We won't play your game if the trophies are glitched. So developers, you have to make sure your trophies are not glitched. Just testing to make sure your game works is not enough. You need to go and play test these games and make sure the trophies will pop. Alright, so the first rule you developers need to follow is relevancy. Why is my character picking up? You got to give me a reason for why my character's picking up, and don't let me just pick him up just because there's a trophy for it. Do I unlock something, bonuses or anything, costumes? You got to provide a relevant reason to my character that pertains to the story as to why he's actually picking them up. Now, the Order 1886 had photographs. Now, you pick up these photographs, you can look at them, you can flip them over and inspect it. But why? I don't understand what that meant to the actual story I was being told. The only thing I could think of is that they just wanted to remind you the era that you're in. But the game was called The Order 1886. If I was confused about what era I was in, I would just look at the cover of my game. Really simple. Now, The Last of Us also kind of had some issues with this. Now, they had good and bad. For example, good in The Last of Us was the comic books. There was a scene where you're driving down the road and Ellie was in the back seat and she was reading a comic book. Now, from that point forward, anytime you found a comic book, you would pick it up. You understood why your character was picking it up. More than just you need to find them all for a trophy. It made sense to the story. It was relevant to the story. Now, also in The Last of Us, they kind of had a bad method, and that was with the Firefly pendants, which are basically dog tags. I'm still not entirely sure why we had to pick them up and why they're hanging up in trees. It didn't make sense. So they kind of do a good and a bad there, but a lot of developers just put collectibles in the game for the sake of having collectibles in the game. Guess what, guys? You don't need them at all. So if you can't think of a reason why it's relevant, why your character would be doing it, and don't provide an incentive to the player for picking them up other than getting a trophy, then you know what? Just cut them from the game altogether. Alright, the second rule to collectibles is introduce them to the player. I don't want to get halfway through a game, stumble across a collectible and go, oh, this is what I was supposed to look for. At the very beginning of the game, where you developers like to just teach us how to jump and climb over logs and duck and crawl, at some point during that little tutorial section, introduce the player to the collectible. Make it kind of obvious, put it right in front of you. The Order actually does a good job with this. Right near the very beginning of the game, you're going to run right into a series of collectibles, so you know what you're looking for throughout the rest of the game. I don't want to get to the end of the game and go, well, what the hell is the collectibles? So make sure you introduce them to the player early in the game. Number 3 on our list is location accuracy. Now, what I mean by that is the placement of them should make sense. If I'm looking for little pieces of paper, I shouldn't see them out in the middle of an open street where it rains on them every other day. It just doesn't make sense. I shouldn't look for laptop computers outside either, because again, if it rains, it destroys it. Now, going back to The Last of Us, again, the Firefly pendants, why the hell are they up in the trees? I don't get it. It's just, why would it be there? It doesn't make sense. So don't just kind of spew them out into the world without putting a little thoughtful consideration of where they would make sense. All right, now we're getting to the meat and potatoes of this list here. Number 4 is limit the number of them. There is no reason to have an extraordinarily high amount of collectibles just for the sake of collectibles. In fact, I got a list here. Assassin's Creed Unity has 402 collectibles. Daylight has 126, and that's a relatively short game. Just Cause 2, back on the PS3, had about 3,000 collectibles. Little Big Planet 2, that has 1,214 collectibles. That's just way too many. Just please limit the number of collectibles. There's no reason to have more than is required. In fact, let's go ahead and let's put a rule in place. You can have 4 collectibles for every hour of the game. So if you have a 10-hour campaign, you get 40 collectibles. That's it. No more. Now, 40 is extreme. You don't have to have that. You can have 20, 30. But there's no reason to have hundreds of collectibles. Assassin's Creed Unity. Come on, Ubisoft, you know better than that. Number 5, and this one is for open world games. Open world games such as Far Cry 4, Assassin's Creed Unity, and most recently Dying Light. If you have an open world game, you must provide some way to find the collectibles, usually through an in-game map or some sort of locator system. Because if you're just going to put 60 collectibles in a game, in an open world game, and expect us to scour every inch of that, that's asking for a little much. If a player can't find them on their own without using a guide, you're doing it wrong. And the perfect example of a game that done fucked it up is Dying Light. There was, I believe, 62 collectibles, and you could spend months and months searching for them and never find them all. You gotta provide some sort of in-game map, and you don't have to just give us the map. Make us do something that would give us a map as a reward, or do something. And another example would be Infamous. They made it so you can track them a little easier. The first game screwed it up too, but they did finally improve on that system. So if you have an open world game, you must provide some sort of collectible location assistance. Alright, next on our list, this one irritates me to no end, and that is you have to make them easy to spot. If they're small little trinkets, I should be able to see them from more than 6 inches away. Don't make me walk every single corner and along every single wall looking for these damn things. I should be able to spot them from a distance. It's obvious. A lot of games do get it right where they kind of give you a shine, a glow, or some sort of indicator that they're in that spot. But don't make me have to walk up and literally lie down on top of it before I can see it. Just please stop doing that. Alright guys, this one might be the most frustrating one, and you developers have got to get it together here, and that is saving. As soon as I pick up a collectible, it should automatically save to my profile forever. I shouldn't pick up a collectible and walk 10 feet away, die, respawn, and have to go back and get that collectible. It makes no sense. Also, when I pick up a collectible, it should just be completely removed from the game completely. If I do chapter select, a new game plus, anything, it should just disappear. That way I know I have it. It's so frustrating when many gamers tweet me or send me messages and say, hey, I got all the collectibles, I followed your guide, I didn't get the trophy. In a lot of cases, that's because I picked it up, died, and forgot to go pick it up again. It needs to automatically save to your profile the second you pick it up, and you shouldn't have to pick it up a second time. Please fix that ASAP. Alright, the final collectible issue I have with developers is the lack of tracking and the inability to get collectibles through chapter select. Now I know I can do these as two separate ones, but they kind of go hand in hand. And what I mean by chapter select is if I go through a game and I'm missing a collectible, I should be able to go and start up the beginning of that chapter, get the collectible, and that's it. Some games require you to start from the very beginning and get every single one of them in a single run. Outlast is guilty of that, one of my favorite games of last year. An even bigger concern than that is the lack of tracking. There has to be a way to indicate which collectibles I have found and which ones I am missing. The Order 1886, and this is what really set me off, lacks that. It does have chapter select and you can get the collectibles through that way, but without an in-game tracker, there's no way to know where in the game it's missing. It should, on chapter select screens, there should be an indicator of exactly how many collectibles are in that chapter and how many of them I have found. Also, if you want to take it a step further, is you should show that during the pause menu. If I'm in a chapter, I should be able to pause and see them there. But at the very least, you need to indicate which chapters have missing collectibles, because I'm not going to start the game from the very beginning, play a, well, not in the case of the Order, but I should not have to play a 12-hour campaign and searching for the collectible hoping I stumble across it. So you need to narrow it down for the player. No player should have to go to my YouTube channel, which I don't mind if you do, but shouldn't have to rely on following a strategy guide to find all the collectibles. If they wanted to find them on their own, it should be possible. So that's it, guys. That's my list. I hope the developers take note. I hope they see this. I hope they fix this because it's very frustrating. And if you see a developer make a game that is breaking one of these rules, let them know it. So thanks for watching, guys, and happy trophy hunting.